Good evening, future FASS students. Congratulations and thank you so much for joining us today. Please note that as I have said, today's session is being recorded. We would first like to begin with a land acknowledgement. We would like to recognize that all three of SFU's campuses are on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, Kakite, Semiahmoo, Tawasin, and Katzie nations. My name is Madison. I am a student recruitment coordinator from SFU's recruitment and admissions team, and I am one of your hosts for today's events. I am also joined by my esteemed colleagues, Caitlin Davis, who you heard earlier, who is the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences Coordinator of Recruitment, Community Outreach, and Student Engagement, and Rebecca Sanguis, our Indigenous Student Recruitment Coordinator. I will have Caitlin introduce her own team in a bit. At SFU, we have 3 campuses, 8 faculties, 84 research institutions, and are ranked the #1 comprehensive university in Canada. So if you are interested in research, you have come to the right place. We currently have over 30,000 students enrolled, and just over 10,000 are participating in co-ops and other work experiences. A fun fact about SFU is that we are the only Canadian institution to participate in the NCAA, where our varsity athletes compete with US teams. At SFU, the SFU community is an integral part of being a student. From clubs to student unions to recreational sports, there is something here for you. To build on our SFU community, we've just recently completed our brand new student union building. Our incoming fall 2021 class will get to be one of the first groups to use the new building if we are back on campus this fall. With the new stadium opening as well this fall, there will be even more opportunities to spectate our varsity sports such as football, track and field, and soccer, once we can safely gather again. We also have new residences opening this May, where we have brand new single occupancy rooms, common spaces, and opportunities to collaborate, as well as spaces to find comfort in your new surroundings. Another one of our many benefits of being an SFU student is graduating into a network of over 170,000 proud alumni from over 43 countries, which we'll get to hear from some today. Not only will you be a part of a strong community while you are a student, but continue to be a part of one once you graduate. Currently, there will be an update in regards to the status of our fall semester at the end of May. SFU is working collaboratively within the community and with our provincial government to safely reopen our doors. If you have any specific questions about our COVID-19 protocols or any other questions for that matter, we will be having a Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. And once again, thank you for joining us today and congratulations. I will now pass it over to Caitlin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Madison. Just again, hello, everybody, and a huge congratulations on your offer to the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at SFU. Round of applause to everybody here. We're super proud of you and so excited to have you joining us this fall, hopefully in person, fingers crossed. So huge congratulations to you guys there. And again, welcome. This is our second last session of our Next Step series. So this series is to help you kind of navigate this educational journey, get answers to some of your questions, and get to know us a little bit better in FASS. Our last session is on May 19th. And that's where you'll get to meet some of our FASS Year 1 academic advisors and really get started on that next part of your journey to joining us. So make sure you do register for that session. It's the same way that you registered for the one tonight. We will also have not only our FASS Year 1 advisors for those students going to Burnaby, we'll have a FASS 1 advisor for those of you joining the FASS 1 program in Surrey. Our team of advisors, they're awesome, dedicated, they're available to help you with things like your course planning, determining the different program requirements, how to declare. There will be, in addition to May 19th, several different online sessions over the next couple months to help you with some of the big questions that you might have, like what classes do I take? Make sure that you're not only looking into this prior to the start of this semester, the fall semester, but you want to look into this every semester. Meet with them all the time. They're really there to support you. Any questions you have, they're your person. So don't be shy to reach out to them. And one thing to keep in mind is if you change your mind, so you might have this, program in mind right now. If you change your mind after taking a couple of classes, that is okay. It's very common to change your mind. And again, these advisors are really there to support you through this journey. We do have some of our advisors here today to help answer any questions that you might have. FASS, we are the largest faculty at SFU. We have nearly 12,000 undergraduate students. So a lot of the students within SFU are part of the FASS faculty, and we have over 23 different departments and programs, which means we have the widest array of topics available to study, such as history, political science, international studies, cognitive science, labor studies, criminology, economics, and so much more. We are interdisciplinary, buzzword interdisciplinary. So while these topics that we have, they may seem distinct, they actually overlap and they complement each other very well. So you can choose to take classes that align with your strengths, your passions, your goals, all under this umbrella of your undergraduate degree. So we really do encourage you, stay curious, explore. Don't worry about figuring everything out right now. And again, don't be shy to connect with your advisors. They are there to support you. We have a team of peer mentors as well, who is also very excited and eager to meet you. They are current students, and you can sign up to get paired with someone from your intended program. Some of you may have already met some of them through the new 2020 undergrad 2021 new undergrad Facebook group, or through fast.engage on Instagram or Facebook. So you can get connected to some of our peer mentors through that, and also sign up for the peer mentorship program, where you'll get some different tips and tricks and resources to help you over these next few months. And it's also a really good way for you to make some friends and get connected to different social and academic activities that might be out of the classroom. Lastly, before we go into our alumni panel here, I just want to let you guys know, next week on May 12th is already next week, you can join us from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So 10 a.m. our time here in Vancouver for an e-lecture. So this is a mock class with a humanities associate professor, Samir Gandesha. And this lecture, it's going to be on systemic racism and police reform. So a very current hot topic that's going on right now. So you can join us for a lecture with, again, Associate Professor Samir Gandesha. We'll put a link into the chat for more information about this lecture and how you can register for that session. And now I will pass it on to our first alumni on the panel to introduce themselves. We'll start with Nick, who's up on the screen right now, and then we'll get the other Nick up on the screen as well, and we'll go from there and pass it on. So Nick, please start with introducing yourself.
Thank you, Kaylin. Remind me again, how much time do I have? I totally kind of blanked on this one.
Oh, that's okay. So what we'll do, you can just quickly introduce yourself. We'll actually go around and introduce everybody first of our alumni, and then we'll go into some of the different questions that tend to come up. So just a couple minutes to introduce yourself here.
Awesome. Well, my name is Nick. I am a SFU alumni. So I currently work with the YMCA of Greater Vancouver in our Employment and Immigrant Services Department as an employment coach. I went to FASS 2014, I guess. It's been a while now, but I major in international studies and I minor in economics. Yeah, and I did a bunch of cool things that I'm hoping to chat about this evening with y'all. But yeah, that's a short and sweet version of who I am.
Fantastic, thank you. While we get the other Nick up on the spotlight here, I'll pass it on. Let's go with Rachel next. That's next on my screen. So we'll get Rachel to do an introduction.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Wong, and I did a minor in international studies and I majored in communication. So I totally resonate with this whole, you don't have to figure everything out right away, and you will probably change your mind at some point. I am a COVID graduate. I graduated last year, and I currently work for the university. I work as the campus communicator for the Surrey campus. So I like to joke that I haven't gone too far, but it's a place that I love. So it's nice to be back home, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. We'll go into the other Nick now. Nick, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is also Nick. Was just poking fun at other Nick in the chat a little bit because I started in 2011. So almost 10 years ago now, which is a little bit scary for me. But now I'm currently working for the Public Health Agency of Canada, of all places, not in direct COVID response, but in sort of a COVID adjacent project that involves strategic policy and program development. So yeah, that's basically where I am now.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Shelby.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shelby, and I started at SFU in 2013 and graduated in 2018 with a degree in criminology and a certificate in police studies. After graduating, I worked with the RCMP for about 2.5 years as an analyst in their major crime unit. And now I am currently a recruit constable with the Delta Police Department. So looking forward to speaking with you a bit further. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's get into this. So Rachel kind of alluded to this a little bit. What did you guys want to do when you were in high school? So tell us a little bit about what you thought you might want to do in high school, maybe the program that you started with, and we can double that with why you kind of chose that program in FASS. So we'll start with Rachel.
Thank you. Yeah, I also started in 2014, and I was hoping to be an English teacher in high school. So I entered into the global issues first year learning community, which I think is slightly pivoted now. It's in a different iteration, but I started at Surrey and I did a wide variety of courses. And I think that's how I ended up getting into learning about and ultimately sticking with international studies. I think for a period of time there, I wanted to go into diplomacy. Maybe, thank goodness for the world, I'm not doing that now. But there was like diplomacy. And then of course, I spent a bit of time thinking that I was going to go into journalism, but ultimately with my communications degree, landed and continued to work for the university. So I think in some ways, not too far from where I started, still working in education. And what I really love is that SFU, and Kaylin used that word earlier, interdisciplinary, just the different ways in which the programs really relate to one another. You can draw different information and things that you've learned from different classes and also outside of classroom experiences and bring them into a really well-rounded program. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. We'll pass it on to Nick. NIC, Nick.
Thank you. Well, I actually started off at Douglas College. So I was a transfer student in 2014, but I started at Douglas in 2013. And in high school, I was not super certain what I wanted to do. I knew it was going to be arts and social sciences related. So I went to Douglas for, I guess, a course that was, or a program that was kind of like international studies. And then based on that, I was doing a little bit more research. And what I really liked about Douglas was the small nature of the program that I was in. And SFU, School for International Studies, offered a very similar approach to their teaching, learning. And so it was just kind of like a no-brainer for me at that point. I was like, oh, you know, a small program where I get to interact with professors, where I get to learn from, you know, cutting edge research. This seems like the right fit. So I did that. But then, you know, because SFU has so many different courses that, like Caitlin has said, are interdisciplinary and complementary. I took a bunch of econ courses, and then I was like, wow, this is actually super cool. So then I decided to do a minor in that as well, and kind of just moved along that general area. And then eventually I figured I wanted to try out research on my own. So I applied and got into the honors program within my department at the School of International Studies, and was able to kind of create my own research, create my own coursework, work with a professor to really navigate what that would look like. So it was very, very interesting. And now, you know, graduating, I moved into working mostly in social services, mostly in poverty reduction, which is what I actually focused on in my econ degree and my studies. So not in the international field so much, but definitely in the general category that I was always interested in going into post-secondary.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll pass it on to Shelby.
For me, I was really one of those people who I really didn't know what I wanted to do in high school. I did know that I was probably going to be Faculty of Arts and Social Science related, and specifically criminology really interested me. So that's kind of the route I started out with. And I realized that that was the correct faculty for me. I loved the courses I was taking. I found them all very interesting. But during that time, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. And honestly, I really let that stress me out too quite a bit throughout my degree, just because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to pursue after I graduated. And I considered law school for a bit and considered policing, and then kind of changed my mind. And I let it stress me out a bit, but I think the one piece of advice I can give is just don't stress about it, because you'll absolutely figure it out. And the job that I got after graduating with the RCMP was a job that I didn't even really realize existed, or one that I could even work in with the criminology degree, and that really acted as a stepping stone for where I am now, which is with Delta PD. So I found my way, and I just wish I could have tell my younger self, don't stress, you're gonna figure it out. And sure enough, I did. So that's my one piece of advice for you, is I promise you, you'll figure it out. It's a process, and just stick with the path and you'll be just fine.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a very common thing. A lot of people stress about what to do, but this journey through post-secondary, it's really this time to be curious and explore and, figure these things out, and it can change as you go. And really don't stress too much about it, because again, like Shelby said, it'll come. So next we'll pass it on to the last Nick.
Yeah, it's actually a really good segue, because I, in high school, I actually started out wanting to go into computer science. So completely different faculty. But I had a recruiter for the French cohort program show up in my, I want to say it was my French 11 or French 12 course, and talk to me about this interdisciplinary program that FASS had, that was political science with an extended minor in French, or a double major in French, that also offered an exchange program, and was taught about 60% of those political science courses in French. And not wanting to lose my French, and sort of questioning whether computer science was something that I was really passionate about, I decided to switch gears, applied to the French cohort program, and ended up doing a double major in political science and French. Initially thought I was going to use that to go into teaching, but then in some of my upper year courses got a lot of encouragement from my professors to pursue a master's degree. So I ended up staying at SFU, doing a master's degree with one of the professors in the French cohort program, who I got to know really well, and actually ended up doing an honors thesis with. And then stayed with FASS through my master's degree, took advantage of the co-op program finally, and then ended up sort of doing a bit of co-op combined with coursework, and then ended up working for the federal government. So it was a little bit of a meandering road. I don't really think I ever planned on working for government, but I kind of just went with things when they seemed to be going in a certain direction, and I've ended up really happy with where I ended up. And I think it's just a testament to how many diverse things you can do with a FASS degree. Certainly, given what all the other panels are doing, it's the breadth of experience you get is really incredible, and I can't speak to that enough.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, on to the next part here. Now, one thing we always like to talk about is how we recommend for students to get engaged outside of the classroom. So go beyond the academics. What are some cool or interesting things that you did, as it could have been as part of your program or your academics, but maybe some things that you also did outside of the classroom? We'll go in the same order again. So we'll start with Rachel, and then maybe halfway through we'll swap it and go back. But we'll start with Rachel again here.
Sure. So I know that Rosebake, who is here with us in the chat, she noted that Shelby and I met through the FASS1 program, and I always I'm so grateful for that program because I think not only did it help me to meet good friends like Shelby, who we're still friends to this day, and it's so wonderful. But I think also the fact that in meeting some students who are further ahead in their degree, who are a little more secure in what they were doing and was able to show us the ropes as first years, it encouraged me to get involved right away, as you were mentioning, Caitlin. So I remember one of the first things that I did in my first semester, I think it was I participated in a program that was piloting that semester. And it's this program called Racing Raiders. It's hosted through the TD Community Engagement Center, which is based at SFU Surrey. And it's a wonderful center that provides a lot of student volunteer opportunities, particularly in the city of Surrey, but also elsewhere. And this program was specifically pairing a lot of students at SFU with elementary school kids in these areas of physical and reading and, physical activity and reading and numeracy literacy. So it was really wonderful, not only to just get involved, but also to meet other folks at SFU, make new friends, and also just meet people who were, interested in the same sort of things and just be able to give back to the community. And I found that from there, it really opened up a lot of doors to meet new people, try out new things, and ultimately, it was just wonderful experience so that I didn't have to stress out about school all the time. I had something else to look forward to. So I would say, absolutely get involved, find different volunteer opportunities because there's a lot of them out there. SFU does a really good job of that.
Great, thank you, Rachel. Nick, we'll pass it on to you. And I see Nick.
Perfect. Yeah, what did I do? I mean, thinking back, I think it was my first semester at SFU. I didn't really know anybody, and my classes were pretty big. So I was like, I need to make some friends here. If any of you are in the international studies program, or you are going to be going into that, you will get these weekly email blasts from the academic advisor of that department. And in one of those blasts, there was there are usually so many cool opportunities that you can pursue. And one of them was joining the international studies student journal called Confluence, which I believe still runs to this day. And I was interested in academics, and I was like, this might be a good place to meet some folks in my department. So I went to some of these meetings, met a bunch of cool people, some of whom I'm still friends with today, and kind of got involved in this weird, student-run academic journal that was peer-reviewed by our professors and some of our undergraduate teammates as well. So it was a really, really cool and a collaborative experience, which then led me into be interested in our student union and the International Studies Student Association. And so I was involved in that actually, I believe, for most of my academic career at SFU, doing different roles, whether it was, event coordinating or chairing meetings. And it was, it was really cool because I got to, get some of that quote unquote real life experience in terms of adding to my resume, hosting career nights for students, being able to navigate the university setting, the faculty and the resources there, and also make connections and networking with other individuals. So that was super handy. Which then led to me doing the co-op program. And I think that I found quite a lot of value in the co-op program. I did 4 co-ops through my 5-year degree at SFU. I believe, I did a bunch I did 2 semesters working for the federal government, which I thought was very interesting. I really thought, in my 3rd and 4th year of SFU that I was going to be a public servant. That was my calling. And then I did this co-op semester and I was like, holy, this is not for me. I'm really glad that I got to experience this before I decided to put all my eggs in this one basket. But the experience was really useful, which then translated to so many other cool opportunities. I got the chance to go abroad in a co-op semester as well, working as a research assistant for an NGO based out of Uganda, where I got to carry on my own research, support the people that were doing work there. And then also worked in the diplomatic field with the Consulate General of Mexico in Vancouver, as an assistant, mostly holding high-end events for the ambassador of Mexico to Canada and some of these other people, diplomats working here in Vancouver. And that all compounded to, I guess, a really good experience in my undergraduate degree, and also really good tangible experience to then take on into the labor market, which is where I now am. And I'm very happy where things turned out. But again, it was very much one email from my academic advisor that led to multiple different things happening along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Shelby. Cool or interesting things you did outside of the classroom. It could have been a part of the classroom, but some different opportunities that you took part in.
Absolutely. Rachel did touch on FASS1, and I second everything she said. That was an absolutely amazing program, and I really attribute it to getting off on the right foot for the rest of my degree. I met some fantastic people, friends who I still have to this day, including Rachel, and so I'm really grateful for the program in that regard. One really cool thing I got to do when I was at SFU is I had the opportunity to study abroad. So in my third year, I traveled to New Zealand and studied at the University of Canterbury in Christchurch for about 5 months. And it was honestly one of the greatest experiences of my life. I got to study some cool courses, and I met some fantastic people from all over the world. And in addition to studying, we also had the opportunity to travel around the country quite a bit. We had a 17-day spring break. And so we did a road trip around the North Island of New Zealand. And I got to, see the movie set from Lord of the Rings. I got to surf down some sand dunes, went on some incredible hikes, traveled the South Island of New Zealand as well, and did bungee jumping in Queenstown, and again, some other really incredible hikes down to Milford Sound. And it was a really special opportunity, and one I definitely recommend giving a shot if you're able to. SFU is really great. There's an extensive list of countries that you can travel to and a number of different universities that you can study at. So there's something for everyone. And it's a really great way to not only meet some new people and see the world, but also take some courses that might be related to your degree, but maybe through a different lens. So I took a criminology course, but of course it was based around New Zealand culture. So it was really cool to kind of see what that was like through their lens, and what they teach and what it's like within their country. So yeah, that was just an absolutely spectacular experience, and one that I definitely recommend if you're able to do it. Definitely seize that opportunity.
That sounds like such an incredible experience. I wish I took advantage of study abroad when I was studying as a student. Study abroad, it doesn't happen right now because of COVID, but once those borders reopen, those opportunities, of course, will become available again. So definitely make sure that you look into the different travel partnership options that you can do as part of your program. All right, now we'll go into Nick.
Yeah, I would echo everything Shelby said about study abroad. Part of the FCP is a mandatory exchange semester in a francophone country. So I ended up going to Strasbourg in France for 1 semester. Lots of cool opportunities over there. Got to see some really, really old small French towns. Got to go hiking in the mountains. Got to cross over the border to Germany and get to see what Germany was like. You could literally walk across and get your groceries in Germany, which is super cool. Sort of similar to the FASS1 program as well. The FCP is a super small, tight-knit program. So I still have friends that I met through the FCP in first year to this day, which is great. And I also got involved with some stuff outside of academics and outside of the program. I ended up at one point president of the French Student Union, which was a really neat experience. I got to meet a lot of people that were in the French department, but not in the French cohort program, and got to hear about what they were doing, all their different experiences. Got to get my feet wet in managing board meetings and things like that, which is also a really transferable skill. And also just got to run a lot of cool events and have a lot of fun. So I would just say, seek out those opportunities as much as you can. I think one of the mistakes I made in my first probably my first and second year was that I didn't seek those out enough. And I know SFU sometimes gets a reputation of being like a commuter school where there's like nobody actually doing anything on campus. I really don't think that's true. There's so many opportunities out there. You really just have to like take a chance, try something, see if you like it. If you don't like it, look somewhere else, because you will find something, you'll find great people, and you'll have awesome experiences.
Yes, great advice. There is a community out there. So the SFU community, it's an engaged community. We are Canada's engaged university. So there are definitely a lot of opportunities to get engaged for you to seek out. And I highly recommend connecting with some of those peer mentors, and they'll help you figure out where to find these different opportunities. Now, we've had both Shelby and Nick talk about study abroad. Rachel and the other Nick, did either of you have the opportunity to study abroad? And if so, please just quickly share some of those experiences with that as well.
Nick, you can go ahead because I stayed local, so you can go ahead.
You stayed local, yeah.
I didn't do a study abroad, but I did do a co-op abroad,
Cool.
which counted towards my credits and gave me some really good, cool, and really, really tangible experience, for my resume. So that was great. I can talk a little bit about that if you want. Or
yeah, sure. Yeah, just briefly talk about this co-op abroad. That sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, so that's part of the co-op program. I mean, you get to try out essentially all of these different jobs. You apply for them competitively, but SFU has partnerships with different organizations and businesses across the Lower Mainland, across Canada, even abroad sometimes, where you can, again, put what you're learning into practice. And I got this really cool chance to, be a research assistant for this NGO called Schools Built in Schools, which funded development of a vocational school in Uganda, in this very small village in the south by Lake Victoria called Tekra. And they needed somebody to support their local staff with some of the research and essentially marketing that was happening with that vocational school. And yeah, I applied. It was kind of one of my goals when I intended to do co-op, that I wanted to do co-op abroad. There's some opportunities for international co-op happening. So I focused my entire job search, I remember that semester, entirely on companies and businesses that would take me outside of Canada so I could have that international experience. And I was lucky to be able to move. I was in Uganda for about 4.5 months. Got to learn a little bit about the people, again, practice the research that I've been doing at SFU locally, and utilizing some of the research methods and anti-colonial research methods, actually, that we had been learning in international studies to then apply to the work that I was doing there. It was a lovely experience. I made lots of good friends in Uganda. Some of them I speak to. Actually, one of them is getting married soon. Hopefully, they will, the pandemic will be over and I can join their wedding. So who knows? It was a really, really life-changing opportunity, and I would, in a heartbeat, go back to Uganda if the right work opportunity opened up, because it was amazing.
Incredible, thank you. That actually kind of leads into the next question. Co-op, we've talked a little bit about co-op. Does anybody have any cool co-op, if you did co-op, any experiences or opportunities that you wanted to talk about? Well, Nick kind of talked a little bit about his co-ops already, so we'll go on to Nick NIC talked about his co-op opportunities. Nick NICK, did you do co-op? Tell us a little bit about some of those opportunities that you had there briefly.
Yeah, so I did co-op during my master's, not during my undergrad, which in retrospect probably was a mistake. I think I should have done co-op in my undergrad, and I think it would have helped set me up even better. Not that I'm doing badly right now or anything, but they were really, really great experiences, especially if you're somebody who is thinking of going to the public service, because government tends to be a super big black box, and it's very complicated for anyone that's sitting outside of it. So you get to dip your feet in a bit to seeing what that's like. There's also some really good, like what they call student bridging opportunities through government. So if you like take a student position in government, they can actually like put you in a position indeterminately without really having to go through like a whole job process after you've graduated. So it's really, if you're thinking of going in that direction, it's a really good option. But I guess to get in a little bit more detail, So my first co-op term was with Indigenous Services Canada in Ottawa. So I moved out there for a few months, and I was working on their education transformation initiative back in 2017. And that was basically trying to rethink the fiscal relationship between the government and First Nations for First Nations education on reserve. So I know that that policy was like adopted by the Assembly of First Nations and the government, and is like currently in place right now and being used. So it's really cool. I actually got to work on something that like tangibly has an effect on people's lives. My second co-op term was with the Vancouver office of the Public Health Agency of Canada, and I got to work really closely with one of their francophone stakeholders and actually like run a study on my own to look at the health status of francophone immigrants in BC. And so I got to like, plan out a report and do the research, run a survey, like basically all by myself independently, and then managed to like present that to the community at the end and sort of show how the role that francophone immigrants play in the community and how their health is affected by some of the challenges that they face. So it was really awesome, and I think really helped set me up to have the job that I do now.
Awesome, thank you. Shelby, did you take part in co-op?
I didn't take part in co-op, but everything that I've heard from friends, it sounds like an absolutely wonderful experience and full of value. So I'm sure. I think Rachel did a co-op, so I'm sure she can speak a bit more to it.
Awesome, thank you, Rachel. Just talk quickly about yours. We'll go into the last little bit after this before we go into our Q&A.
Sure. So I did 4 co-ops, all very different experiences. One with the federal government. Actually, I worked with the RCMP myself. I worked at a tech startup, and I worked at SFU, but I think the one that I did at SFU helped me to find my way into working at SFU. So of course I'm grateful for that. But the one that stands out to me certainly is working for 4 months with the CBC, so Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I was an intern with them. I worked here on some of the daytime radio shows, and I was able to fly back and forth between here and CBC Toronto. So having had an interest in journalism for a very long time, it was definitely quite pivotal for me, and being able to help produce some of the programming that happens here locally, as well as collaborate with interns from all over the country. And then of course, like to be flown out to Toronto to work on some projects there. It was just a really neat experience, and it's helped me with, I guess, my own interest in media, and yeah, a lot of great things there. So thanks for asking.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so now let's go into very quickly, what are your future career goals and plans? We talked a little bit about what you're doing now, but do you have any future career goals or plans? We'll start with Nick, N-I-C-K, Nick. We'll go backwards.
I've kind of, I used to be somebody who tried to plan things out a lot more. I've kind of become someone who goes with the flow a little bit more. I would say at some point I would probably like to end up in a management role in government. I'm not 100% set on that. And I still have a sort of vague desire to go back and do a PhD at some point. But I'm not totally sure I'm committed to that. So I'll just see how it goes for the next few years, and I'll send you an update.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick. Shelby, how about you?
So as I mentioned in my introduction, I'm currently a recruit constable with Delta Police Department. So really my career goal has kind of been set is to get into policing and see where that leads me. I'm only in my 4th month of training, and the nice thing about the Justice Institute is it's kind of broken up into different blocks. And I'm in my 2nd block, so I get to do some on the road experience. And my first shift is actually this Friday. So looking forward to that, getting out on the road and getting some really good hands-on experience. But yeah, that's my goal right now, is just to continue with training and then graduate and go from there and kind of figure out what I want to do after that. But yeah, it's been fantastic so far. I'm having an awesome time.
Awesome. Congratulations, Shelby, and good luck on your first road tour and getting out onto the road. That sounds exciting.
Thanks so much.
Yes. All right. Nick, how about you?
Well, I'm currently working with the YMCA as an employment coach, but I started the job in January. So prior to that, I worked with a small nonprofit in the downtown east side called Mission Possible. That led me to, discover an area of work that I had never actually considered, which was, employment-related services, which actually was very easy, very applicable with my degree because I had done my degree in international studies, focusing in poverty reduction, and a degree in economics. So my knowledge of the labor market plus that was a really nice, we would really complement each other for that job, and now even more so in this role with the YMCA. I do want to do a master's. I figure that I'm in no rush. The pandemic, I don't know. I just started a new job, kind of filling that out. Much like Nick, I used to be the type of person that would plan everything. I remember my first year at SFU, I planned my whole 4 years and then soon discovered that was futile and not very useful. So now I'm more like, well, this is a good job. It's a 3-year contract. Let's see how that goes. But if a master's comes in, it will likely be in geography, human geography, or really, really interested in global health. So potentially, which is very different from what I'm doing right now. But I'm not sure yet, and I'm not really in any rush to find out. But again, I'll let you guys know once I figure it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's one thing that I too had learned is you can't really plan that far in ahead because things happen. Look at the pandemic, right? Who would have thought that this would have happened? So, and congratulations on the role that you just started in January as well. That's exciting. Rachel, how about you?
Yeah, I have to echo what everyone else has said. And I think it's funny just working at SFU and being in this environment. I know that there are many of my SFU colleagues here. So I think on the one hand, there is a desire certainly to kind of continue working in different departments and different areas within like the realm of marketing and communications. But there's also a part of me that wants to kind of dip my toes back into media. So I'm more of a broadcast, like radio person. I found out that I have a face for radio. So who knows, maybe one day I will go back and do that, whether it's like with an organization or a public broadcaster, or perhaps do something on the side. But I have to agree with everybody. When I first started, I was like, I'm going to be out of here in 3 years. I ended up taking 6. So things change, people change, I guess.
Yep, that is very common. Awesome. So we will get everybody to lots of attendees here today. So please put your questions into the chat. This can be questions for our alumni, can be questions for academic advisors, student recruitment or admissions. We also have current student here as well. So if you have any questions about student engagement, really any questions that you have, we will do our best to get to every single one of them today. Some of us will even stay later after 6 o'clock to make sure we get all of your questions answered. While we wait for some of these questions to get into the chat, lastly, we'll just kind of go around again. Any tips or tricks that you might have? What do you wish you know? What do you know now that you wish you knew back then? So when you were in the position of the students here. So we'll pass it around again, any tips or tricks you have. We'll let the chat box fill up with some questions. So let's start with Shelby this turn.
I kind of mentioned it before, but just don't stress about what you want to do after you graduate. It's the beautiful thing about SFU is there's so much opportunity and so many things that you can do that you may discover a new passion as you're studying and as you're going along. So just know you're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be absolutely okay. And try not to get too stressed out about that. And I guess my other tip would be just to get involved, whether that's through co-op or study abroad or maybe through a volunteer opportunity. It really it's a really great way to enhance your university experience, and I can't recommend it enough. I've met some fantastic people, again, through study abroad and through volunteering, and I'm really grateful for those opportunities. So definitely seize those if you can, because it'll definitely make your time at SFU all the more wonderful.
Awesome, thank you, Rachel. Any last tips or tricks?
Yeah, also echo everything that Shelby just said, but also the fact that professors and TAs, they're not as scary as you think. I certainly thought in my first semester that I couldn't approach them just because, you know, they were the professor and I was just a first year student. But certainly they are some of your most valuable resources, and, you know, they are teaching things that they love. And I found over my time at SFU, some of my professors really became just wonderful mentors, friends even. One of my professors even, he gifted me a book that we were reading for one of the classes, and I just went up to him after class and I was just like, I really like this reading. Didn't think I would, but it was really exceptional, and he gave me his copy. So I was like, what? This is awesome. But you know, we don't hear that when we're in high school. Like we hear, you know, I think maybe the opposite. So I would say really connect with your professors and TAs as well, because they are exceptional people, and we've got some really great ones here at SFU.
Awesome, thank you. Nick, how about you? We'll start Nick, NIC.
Yeah, I think if I were to like talk to my younger self, I would probably say go see your academic advisor sooner than you think. You know, I think, you know, student services at the Maggie Benson Center has really great academic advisors that support you in your first and second year. And then after that, once you declare, there's academic advisors specifically designated for your program. Periodically checking in with them, I think for me was a reality check into, you know, how far along had I actually come into my degree? Where am I going? Am I meeting the course requirements? The last thing you want is that you think you know that what you're doing, and then it's close to graduation, and then actually you're missing a couple of credits here and there. You need to stay another semester. That didn't happen to me because I was able to see my academic advisor every so often. So I think I would probably say that I didn't do it nearly as often as I should have, I think. But I would definitely recommend that. And then other tips and tricks. I mean, I think the one thing that was kind of like a culture shock for me going into SFU and in general post-secondary, because I started at Douglas, was how much responsibility I actually have over my own, you know, career path, academically and otherwise. And that, unlike in high school where, you know, I had like teachers who would advise on this or like, you should check this out. This time around, it was more like, oh, Nick, you're an adult, quote unquote, you're 18, go figure it out. And that can be both exhilarating and also terrifying. So leaning into the people that are at SFU to advise you, like the academic advisors, your professors, your TAs, but also being keenly aware that, yes, like you are the master of your own destiny. So you should go seek out those opportunities. Are you curious about something? Who can you ask about that? Because those were the only ways in which I was able to find out about co-op and about, you know, different student groups running events that I could be involved with. And the responsibility was all on me, and then kind of taking ownership of that fully, and then kind of being my own advocate. So yeah, I would recommend that.
Awesome. Thank you, Noel. I have you here. There is a question in the chat that is directed for you. It says, Nick, I'm also a second-year transfer student from Douglas. What advice do you have about getting involved at SFU, especially as a non-first-year undergrad? I don't want to miss out on any opportunities.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, my second year, I joined the first years into their Frosh Week, when I think that was a thing for Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. The student union for the faculty did a couple of those. So I joined because technically I was still a freshman, technically. So that was great. I met some cool people there. But if you want to meet someone that's a little bit in a more intimate setting, you know, closer group of people, maybe, you know, you guys are in the same program, I would recommend checking out the different clubs and student unions that are, you know, there's lots of them at SFU. I'm just going to sign up for a handful. I wouldn't recommend just like everything, because then you don't want to get burned out. But certainly joining your student union can be really impactful, because then you're going to meet people that are in your program, likely around the same, you know, a year that you're in, maybe a little bit older, maybe younger, and you get a good understanding of who those people are. And then they end up becoming your best friends, you know, like the people that I met in my international studies student union, friends that I have for life. I got married last year, all of them were invited, you know, so it was, those are the friends that last a lifetime. So I would recommend that.
Awesome, thank you. And lastly, Nick, we'll go on to you and then I'll answer some more questions here. A lot of them have some overlap, so we'll try and answer some of them all at the same time. And a bunch of your questions are also being answered into the chat, so make sure you look through there as well.
I would say don't just limit yourself to FASS courses either. One of my big regrets is not having done more computer science courses, because I still found them really fun. I did a couple, but also kind of seeing the direction that the world's moving in terms of becoming more digital, requiring more data analysis skills, that kind of thing. I think buffering a FASS degree with that kind of skill set can be really, really, really useful. And I would also just echo what everyone else has said about reaching out to your TAs, reaching out to your professors. I ended up TAing quite a bit when I was a grad student. It was a great experience. I met a lot of awesome students, had the opportunity to provide some mentorship to a lot of people, and it was really awesome. And I honestly kind of wished I'd had that experience with my TAs more when I was an undergrad. And professors, I mean, they can seem really intimidating when you're just coming fresh into your undergrad, if you're 18, 19. But you have to remember that they're also just people too, and they became professors because they're big nerds about their topic. They love talking about it, and so if you can get into their office during office hours, ask them some questions, engage with them on the topic that they're really passionate about, you can develop some really, really great relationships with people.
Awesome, thank you so much. So lots of questions in the chat about how do I know what classes to take for my program, or what courses do I enroll in for, transfer students, high school students. So this is something that will typically, you'll start your course planning around June. So you can join the advising sessions that are online. You will get emails on how to connect and join into these sessions to help you kind of navigate this course enrollment process, how to plan your classes. It can vary. So one student going into CRIM isn't going to necessarily take the exact same students as the or classes as the other student, right? So make sure you join our session on May 19th, which will kind of be like an introduction to academic advising and course enrollment and how they can help support you and what your next steps are. But you don't start your course planning just yet. Don't stress about it. Schedules won't come out until June sometime. So you have a little bit of time. So just slowly start joining these upcoming advising sessions. I would recommend starting University Prep 1. You should have access to be able to join that. You don't even have to be able to get into the Canvas software, from my understanding, to access University Prep Part 1. So that will kind of give you an idea of really what your next steps are going to be and how to kind of navigate this this process. So hopefully that answered your question. All of those kind of advising questions in one bubble. Some of our advisors might put a little bit more detail into the chat for that. And another question was, when is a good time to book or contact your advisors? So you can always start connecting with them now and asking them questions, but that real course enrollment planning, like I said, is going to start in June. All right, let's go on to our next question here. I will pass this one on to Madison. Actually, there was a question about how likely will classes return to in-person? Will SFU follow a hybrid model?
Oh, my favorite question. So currently, the SFU campus, or SFU in general, will be making a more statement announcement at the end of May. So right now we're kind of just waiting it out. As previously, the way the past year has worked, we have announced the semester beforehand of what the next semester will look like in regards to whether it will be in person, how much will be online, kind of thing. And so currently we have a plan A and a plan B of what campus should look like. I think for most of us here that work at SFU or currently students of some capacity, we would love to be back on campus in the fall, but we still want to make sure we're all being safe. So there's going to be some COVID protocols in place, but right now we're still waiting until the end of May, just because the government and SFU has to work together to make the announcement. And so a lot of things are in play to determine whether or not we will be fully in campus, whether it will be a hybrid mode. But there will be much more details coming at the end of May. That's as much as I can currently say right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There's also a question about how to access financial aid. Madison, did you want to take that one as well?
Yeah, so I will link in the chat for you our financial aid and awards page. Our financial aid and awards page and financial aid team, they're absolutely amazing at what they do, and they're wanting to support you as best as possible and what you need from them, whether it be student loans, awards, bursaries. If you've received an entrance award, there's a team there that is ready to work with you and help you. So I'll just link it in the chat for you. Just give me a
Awesome. Thanks so much, Madison. Question here about on-campus housing. I was considering living on Burnaby campus in my second or third year. Would you consider residence worthwhile investment for experience and getting involved? I don't know if any of our alumni have actually lived on campus or did live on campus. Did any of you? Nick, did you want to answer a little bit about your experience with on campus? And I can add to that at the end as well.
Yeah, for sure. I lived in residence in my first year, so I was in the towers, which is where you have your own separate room, but shared bathroom, and you're also in the meal plans. You're not cooking for yourself, so it's sort of like a half step to actually living independently, I would say. And it was really good for me. I think it was really helpful to get out of my parents' house, kind of learn the ropes of being an adult on my own a little bit more, obviously still with support, but I was able to be a little bit more independent than I think I would have been if I had have stayed at home. So I would definitely recommend it. You know, at least for your first year, and then after that you can kind of see how things go. But for first year, yeah, it's a great choice if it's one that works for you and that you can make.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I do recommend on-campus housing. It is a great way to get involved as well. There's a lot of, not only do are you on campus at all times to get access to the different engagement opportunities that are happening there, but residence itself will also host a ton of events and social activities to get involved. So it is a really great way. I don't remember the stats, but I had residents and housing. They did a presentation the other day and showed that nearly half, if not almost half of the students in residence are actually from the Lower Mainland. So there are a lot of students who do live in the Lower Mainland and they still choose to go up onto campus. It reduces that commute time for many people as well. You don't have to worry about taking the bus up the mountain or trying to find parking, whatever it may be. You get that connection to the community a little bit better. And you also get, as Nick mentioned, you're now on your own. You get that independence piece as well. One cool thing is that the dorm rooms are all single occupancy, so you're not sharing a bedroom with somebody else. So they're single occupancy dorms. You are kind of on your own. You have these shared connected communal areas. So it is definitely a really great opportunity, and I highly recommend looking into it if you can. As Madison had at her presentation at the beginning, there's also new buildings that are opening up for this May semester as well. Residence is something that's still definitely happening all throughout COVID. There's space that's set aside for people who may need to be quarantined. So it is all set up, and that's one thing that SFU kind of has an advantage of with those single occupancy rooms, is that you are in your own bedroom, right? So you aren't sharing your bedroom with other people. So we have that kind of nice component to our dorm rooms where you're not sharing a room with 10 people. So all right, let's go into some of the next questions. A lot of these had actually been answered into the chat by a lot of our advisors and staff here already, which is incredible. So I'm just going through and making sure I can get through this. There was a question here. So university prep was something that I mentioned. When do we get access to university prep? I have not gotten an email yet. So university prep one, like I mentioned, it is something that you should be able to get access to. It's open actually to everybody. So I don't know if somebody can put into a chat how one can get access to that university prep. And also one big thing I will mention is check your spam and junk email, because a lot of times, for some reason, a lot of SFU emails get lost and put right into these junk and spam emails. So you might think you're missing out on communications, or you might not even realize you're missing out on communications, because it does end up in those folders. So make sure you look into those. Great question here. Are we allowed to sign up or be a part of student unions before September? Would anybody like to answer that one? I can do it as well. So departmental student unions, really great opportunity to be getting engaged. And even if you take one class as part of that department, you can join that departmental student union. Typically, it's going to be something that happens. You'll get all these events and everything happening in September, but the departmental student unions, they like to host a lot of events, and you could always probably try and see if you can join in on some of them possibly before then. But our peer mentors will be the ones to kind of help guide you on that student union journey. But I definitely recommend getting connected to them as early as you can, especially when you get into that kind of welcome day, first week, first month of welcome. What year does one typically do a co-op? Fantastic question. We get this quite often, is when can you start co-op? I would recommend looking into it if you are a transfer student ASAP, because there is a maximum number of credits. So if you have completed, I believe it's 75 units, that's the maximum. So you need to be prior to 75 units to be able to enroll in co-op. So if you are a transfer student, look into this as soon as you can. First couple of weeks of classes getting in, look into co-op so that you can get prepared and ready to enter into that. If you are coming straight from high school into first year, I would recommend that first semester as well. So look into it, go to info sessions, figure out what to do. There is preparatory work that you have to do prior to getting into co-op to make sure that you're ready for any interviews or anything like that. So look into it again into your first semester, and typically you can start probably, I think it's the summer after, so year one, let's say you start in September, there's January. Some students start in May, some students will start in that September their next year. So typically you do about a couple semesters because you have to have that semester for your prep work as well. All right, lots of questions here. Okay. Bettina is giving some great tips in the chat. So if you've missed these, go back and read through and look at some of these tips. So again, another question about co-op, student unions. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to read through all of these messages that we have here. Madison, I don't know if you've been taking a look at the chat, if there's any questions that I might have missed so far. There was a question about taking classes in other faculties. That was something that Nick had actually mentioned, was recommending taking classes from other faculties. And yes, you will definitely be doing so. And that's a really cool thing about SFU, is SFU as a whole is very interdisciplinary. So students, you could do, like, let's say a major in economics and a minor in resource and environmental management from the Faculty of Environment. So you have that flexibility to really kind of build the program that suits you as an individual. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that. And again, our FASS advisors, Rachel put a link into the chat earlier about the FASS advising events and the advisor contact information. They're there to support you through this journey and help you kind of navigate and figure all of this out. All right, so Madison definitely answered that question in the chat. Madison, I'm not sure if there's anything I missed. I'm just kind of looking through.
Between Bettina, Rachel, and Megan, they've been fantastic at answering questions in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like everything
Trying to find some that we haven't answered.
I just got to the bottom. Yeah. How do I send an upgraded transcript? Madison, would you like to answer that one?
I've half written in the chat, but I'll say it anyways. So if you're a non-BC student, I will put the email that you would send, your school would send the updated transcript to. If you are a BC student, then you don't need to send an updated transcript, just because we have access through the student transcript service to access it through the ministry. So we don't need you to send it. If you're a non-BC student, you'll have to have either a counselor, a principal, or your teacher send it to a specific email, which I will link in the chat if you're a non-BC student.
All right, let's see here. I think there might be one more question. Should we have received an email after confirming our offer for university prep? Madison?
Oh, sorry, could you repeat the question? I was typing the email out.
Yeah, I have two questions here that we'll do. So the first one is, should we have received an email after confirming our offer for university prep? I'm not sure if you know the timelines for when the emails tend to go out. I will So our Next Steps website has a lot of, it actually has timelines and all of that. So, and a link to the online Canvas course as well. So I'll just pop that into the chat. I don't know exactly when the emails go out to students, but I'll put the link in there so you can kind of see the timeline. You should have access to University Prep 1 now. So you should be able to follow the links. I think it was also put into the chat. All right, last question. How accessible are financial aid for study, or how accessible is financial aid for study abroad programs? Bettina did put an answer into the chat there. There is some financial supports available for study abroad. There's a website for funding, but I also recommend anything related to financial aid. There is an office specific to that. There is staff that work in that office that are experts in financial aid. So you can definitely connect with them to learn more about the financial aid opportunities. And there's money every single semester for you to apply to. So it's not just, you know, entrance scholarships coming in. There's scholarships, bursaries, and awards every semester to apply to as a student. So make sure every semester you're looking into this and connecting in with financial aid. All right, I don't know if there were any questions that we may have missed there. I think most of them might have been answered into the chat already. If you do have any lingering questions, I am going to change my name address. So you can just email me directly if you have any FASS related questions. If it's a question that I'm not able to answer, I can always direct you on to the right person. We had Rachel, Megan, and Rose sharing their emails and contact information, links on the website as well. So make sure you are connecting with the advisors. I want to thank our FASS alumni so much for joining us here today and talking about your career journeys and how you got to where you are today. I really appreciate you joining us today. So thank you. And thank you to all of our staff who helped to answer all of these questions. And lastly, to all of the students, parents, guardians, whoever you may be, for joining us here today and taking the time out of your evening or morning or middle of the night, wherever you are. Some of you, it's first thing in the morning. Thank you everyone so much for joining us here today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And again, please do not hesitate to reach out